Welcome back to Swimming in the Deep. So, told you about this 2003 F-150 that I have, and something about this year, there's chipping paint on the dash. So look at this. You can even see this like comes off, and this has always been garaged. Look at this paint. Look at this paint. Literally comes off by touching it. I had the windows down the other day and some of it blew off. So I don't know, the adhesion process plus age, because this has been garaged, causes this. And it seems like in the forums I've read, it's more on the tan. So this is actually called medium dark parchment. And I'll show you the matching paint that I found for this. But let's talk about what we're going to do with this. So this piece comes off. This whole piece comes off around the edge here. And then I'm going to take this out and paint it. Sand it and paint it. This piece comes off just by prying on it and bringing it off. I don't have any paint missing on that piece as of now. And so you pull that off, and then if you've got a four-wheel drive, you'll have a connector in here. And you may have a spare connector for something here, and then you'll have, on some models, even of the 2003s, you have another plug for the airbag disconnect in that year, so I don't have that in this one. And then you have this instrument cluster piece that goes in here, and it pulls off as well, and I carefully pulled mine off and got it out of there. You got to bring it out and twist it over. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this switch panel, and I'm going to do that with these plastic removal tools and pry that out. And it's got a plug on the back side too. You'll have to unplug. And then there's just a few 7mm nuts that's going to get this out of here. And here's a couple of them. There's one here and one here, and I'll be back in a moment to show you where the rest are, because there's one behind here. So yeah, now I got this out, and I pried on it and got it out, but I still broke off the faceplate from the switch itself, and I'll have to reattach that probably with just some spot super glue or something. It's not truly broken aesthetically, as you can see. So we'll fix that in a little bit. I was warned that that could happen. To keep that from happening with yours, you want to make sure you get the screwdriver all the way back there, or the plastic thing behind, to get this black thicker housing. I'm not sure it can be avoided, and you can't really reach it from underneath. So now we're going to take out these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe, 6, that one too probably, this one, this one, and there's one right behind here, and you'll be able to bring that off by at least removing one of these, if not all three. But I know I've been told that one to bring it off, so I'm going to do that now with my impact driver and ratchet for the ones I can't access. So yeah, I just took out that one. That gives you enough flexibility to pull on this and to get to that hidden one that's right there. I have the Lariat model, and it has two options here for rear window and pedals. So I'm going to have to take these off as well, or at least unplug the back side of those to get those off. But now that I've got these out, I believe most of this should pull out of here, and we should be good. Let's see. I tell you, that one undoes, if you have this one, by squeezing that mechanism on the bottom when you pull it out. This one was a little harder. I had to go and get a screwdriver or pointed tool like this one and insert to push in that clip right there. And there's only a small square in that black housing underneath there that you can push this up in and then pull it off. So that actually took me longer than anything else, just get that silly plug off. And then I've already done this, but you pull here once you have all these out with two hands, one here and one here, and then you pull a little bit here and you pull here, and it turns loose. And now I've just got to massage it a little bit to get it out of this tight fit. Another tip is you may have to move the gear selector down, so make sure you have the key in your hand and can pull that down. I did pull it down and got it back up, but now it's free. I can take it around to my workshop, and we'll figure out what to do with the rest of it to prep it to paint. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We can take this further apart at this seam across there by taking that out and the other two 7mm there. So in truth, you could have taken that out already and these two, and it would have come out in two pieces. These buttons that you may not have are held in by these clips on the back side. You can see that right there. Pinch them and they will let it come out the front. It looks like it should paint pretty clean, but I also have writing here, so I'm not sure what to do about that. I may put a very rectangle piece of masking on those words and leave them. The air conditioned vent right there itself can also come out. You've got that option there. Probably the same thing on those other pieces if you need to paint those too. You can see these clips from the back side. Anyway, I got this whole thing out in 20 minutes, and I was hung up on that one plug. It would have taken a quicker time. You can see this paint. This was originally gray. By the way, when you take this out of your vehicle, close this cigarette lighter thing or it'll get hung up. So I'm going to flake off as much as I can, and then I'm going to sand it, and then I'm going to prep it. And here's what we're going to use. Here's what I'm going to use. This is an Adhesion Promoter from this Colorbond company. And then this is supposed to be about as close as you can get to this color of medium dark parchment. So most of these trucks, a lot of these trucks are two-tone. There's a light parchment and there's this medium dark parchment. And so that's what we've got with this medium dark parchment. And for my vehicle, the steering wheel's this color and the center part of the dash, medium dark parchment, number 120. And I got this online at the world's biggest online store. You know what that is. I don't need to give them a plug. Alright. So I've worked on this for a little bit. I got more chipped off here. I just did this using that plastic pry tool. If you've got something like that, it's got a plastic edge to it. That may be the way to get the loose stuff off. I just tested this paint and sprayed this underside. Maybe you can see the line right there above that, above this bolt hole, the line. But it's a pretty darn close match. I'm still going to paint the whole thing, and I think it's still going to turn out better than if I had left it in the truck and just tried to spot it in the truck, and who knows what I'd get paint on. And my idea about putting a very rectangle piece of tape over these words, I think will work. We'll give it a shot. But I'm also going to use that Adhesion Promoter, which I didn't do there. I'm not going to remove all the paint, but what I'm going to do is remove all the flaking part, and then I'm going to sand it in those areas. And then I'm going to wipe it down and use Adhesion Promoter on it. Here's an update. So the quickest way, I actually tried a couple of different methods, was to get a razor blade and to drag it across, not gouge it, because you don't want to gouge it, because they'll show up even if you, and it comes off pretty fast. So I've been doing this for about 15 minutes and I got the worst area that seems to flake. I don't think I'm going to do the whole thing this way. I'm going to sand it from the small spots, do the Adhesion Promoter, and then give it a shot. Okay, here's an update. I scraped off as much as I wanted to. I tried to go with even lines. For example, all these areas seem to be the most likely to chip. And don't be confused, that cigarette lighter is tan plastic on mine, but it had tan paint on top of it. Medium, dark medium parchment. And then this piece right here, I did the same thing. And you know, I was gonna save the words that were here, but when I put even painter's tape on that, it pulled those words off. So I've sanded those, and then the Adhesion Promoter says to wipe it down with mineral spirits or isopropyl alcohol. So I did that with mineral spirits, and then I sprayed this with the Adhesion Promoter, and now the next step is to apply the paint. And you'll see it reacted differently to different types of plastic here. It turned some of it white, and I believe it's probably alcohol based. You know, just like when you are doing PVC pipe and you have to soften it up with a primer. That's pretty much what this is doing, is acting as a primer, I believe. Alright, so I masked off just a few things. There was a felt liner here, I masked that off. There's a piece of pleather back there, I masked it off. And that was it. Alright, I'm going to give this a go in a minute and we'll see how it looks. I've put a couple of coats on. Well, about 3. I didn't completely sand between coats, but today it's pretty warm. 80 degrees here in Georgia, and it's drying fast. So I did sand in some areas that I saw the finish wasn't completely done the way I wanted, in between coats. And then I wiped it off with mineral spirits, let it dry, painted another coat. Let's see if you can see what I'm talking about. So you might not even be able to tell anymore to the camera, but I'll point out where the big patch was. It was right here. And you see this debris right here? I don't know if I'm kicking up dust or what, but I'm going to sand that and do that one more time. And then let's look over here where it was really bad. This is coming out pretty nicely. This whole area here. I'll probably give it a light sand before doing another coat or a final coat. Overall, pretty happy. Hopefully it's going to stick to the OEM paint that was left, and maybe that primer is going to help do that. So let's see how the finished product came out. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I've got all my other bezels popped back on. You'll remember all that down there was black. It's a little rougher than I had hoped, but it's a perfect match for color. I'm not sure I would have painted the whole thing, to be honest. I would have taken it all out of the truck again, but I would have masked mine off somewhere in here and left the OEM paint and not tried to go on top, because actually it was so rough I didn't like it, and I started to wipe it and try to see if I could polish it out. I put a little bit of regular alcohol on it and rubbing alcohol, and what you're seeing there is the OEM finish back, and then I tried to fade back. This is a little different, but it fades back into this part over here. I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. If it continues to look like this, I had to come in here and rub on it, but for the match, I'm really happy how it came out. You'll remember that all this down here, and this is the same day, by the way, all this down here was black, and then over here this was all black, and now it's all blended in. I've got all my switches back in. I didn't break that face off too bad. I was able to put it back together. There was enough studs left to pop that back on. So I got everything working. So again, if I were to do it again and the paint on your dash is in good shape up there, but it's flaking mostly down here, I would mask it off and try to get this exact match that I did. Alright, well, that's another edition of Swimming in the Deep. Like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Bye.